This short video will walk you through concluding paragraphs. Although you've probably been taught to restate the thesis, the problem with restating a thesis statement in a conclusion paragraph is it sounds just way too much like the introduction. There's a few other things that happen in some conclusions, although I don't think it would happen in this paper because you're not writing an argument so much. I wouldn't worry too much about number 2, although it's good to keep in mind for argument papers. I would say that number 3 is important. You should have a sense of building towards the end, and the way to do that is to flip the funnel. Conclusions actually go specific to broad, so they work the opposite of a funnel introduction that goes from broad to specific with the thesis at the end. Instead, a good conclusion goes from specific to a larger idea that comes to some sort of statement. In the case of this particular paper, you will be saying at the conclusion whether or not your image is successful. Most of you probably will be arguing that it is because you chose it on purpose, because you thought it was something that you were attracted to. That'll actually give you something a little different than just repeating your introduction when you go to the end and say why it's successful. You don't really need to say in conclusion when you write a conclusion. It's at the end of the paper, so it's actually unnecessary. You could always throw in a quote. If you're writing a proposal, you're not in this case, but you could have a solution at the end. So that might apply to other classes that you're writing conclusions for. This right here is that full circle conclusion idea that we talked about earlier in the class with the This I Believe paper. If you're writing a super short essay, you should have a super short conclusion. And then I would suggest when you write your conclusion, go take a look at the order of sentences, because a lot of the time students tend to bury their best line somewhere in the paragraph, and you want to move that best line to your final line. Here below, I have some example conclusions. There's a couple of them here that are from sample papers that you never did see, but they're on the same one you're working on. And I also want to encourage you to go back and look at sample papers 1, 2, and 3. The best way when you're stuck writing something and you're not sure what to do, the best thing you can do, go look at the samples I give you. They're all wonderful to study and to follow those patterns.